Guys, it's mid-January, and if you haven't started your seeds yet, then hopefully this video will give you the motivation to finally get started. For those of us who live in a cold climate, this is our most important window, and with the month coming to a close, if you haven't started your seeds yet, you're gonna miss out on some of the best varieties to grow for our short growing season. If you're new here, hi guys, my name is Marcia and I'm the Black Thumb Gardener, and I live in Ontario, Canada, USDA Zone 5B, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'd love for you to subscribe, and if you're returning, welcome back and thank you so much for supporting my channel. Now let's get started. So we need to head down to the grow room for number 1 because those seeds have already started to germinate and I'm excited to show you. And that's onions. Onions can take between 90 to 120 days to grow, but if you want really big bulbs when you harvest them, then you need to get them started right now. Onions are sensitive to sunlight, so getting them started right now helps them focus on building these green tops, and then when they get out into the sun, they'll focus on bulb formation. And while we're here, we can check on number 2 on the list, and that is celery. Celery is really slow and finicky and can take up to 3 weeks to germinate. Just take a look at the seedlings. They're so tiny, and we started these almost 10 days ago, and they're just starting to germinate. So if you've already started your celery seeds and you're not seeing anything pop up, then just wait a little bit longer because they're on their way. They're just taking a really long time. If you're interested in seeing how I started my onion and celery seeds, then I'll add a link for the video below. Now, the third seed on our list requires a period of cold stratification, so let's get them started now and get them in the refrigerator. Can you guess which seed it is? That's right. It's strawberries. So I have a love-hate relationship with strawberries. Number 1, I love eating them, but I hate growing them in late summer because that's when the Japanese beetles like to take a munch as well. Today I'm starting mignonette strawberries, which is an alpine strawberry variety that produces bigger fruit than other alpine varieties out there, and the bonus is that this one bears fruit the same year. Strawberries take a long time to get established, especially if you want to harvest fruit in the first year, so getting a head start on them now is essential. They'll stay in the refrigerator for 3 to 4 weeks, and then we'll take them out and put them under grow lights. Now, if you haven't gotten your strawberry seeds yet, don't worry. You still have until February to get them started, but the longer you leave it, the higher the risk of not getting fruit the first year. Okay, now that we're done number 3, we can move on to number 4, and this one requires another round of winter sowing. Now, for winter sowing, we've already started columbine, hollyhocks, and stock, and if you've missed that video, I'll add it into the description below. So today we're adding another flower to our winter sowing list, starting off with foxgloves. Now, I've been winter sowing foxgloves for quite a few years now and adding them around the garden, and I think if you're starting off with winter sowing, this is a great one to get going because they're so easy to winter sow. Foxgloves are generally a biannual flower, so usually they spend their first year in the garden developing their leaves and roots, and then in the second year they put up their bloom stalks and their seeds. Now, depending on the variety you grow, you can get flowers in the first year, and the variety that I'm growing this year, which is a Dalmatian variety of foxgloves, will provide me with blooms in the first year, so I don't have to worry about waiting until the second year to get blooms. Now, again, I always have foxgloves in my garden, so I'm getting blooms every single year. Just check the seed packet to make sure that you're growing the right variety, especially if you want blooms in the first year. Okay, so I have my foxgloves in this container. I couldn't find an empty bottle anywhere. This is a plastic one that was empty and in the recycling bin, and that's what I do. I just pick through the recycling bin, see what I think might be good. This has a lid. I've added holes to it. This has holes in the bottom that I've added, and I think it's the perfect size to add some foxgloves. I'm just going to have to keep an eye on it in early spring to make sure there's room for the leaves, and I open it up to get some air. But other than that, I think this is going to be the perfect addition to our winter sowing setup. So let's get on our jacket and our winter boots and head outside to drop these off. Guys, it's so cold outside. I'm so glad to be back indoors in the warmth. But before we move on to our seed starting extravaganza, we have some unboxing to do because I got my seed haul in from Vessi Seeds, and the next seed that we need to start on our list is located exactly inside this box. Guys, it's always exciting opening a box of seeds. And am I over budget? Yes. Yes, guys, I'm over budget. This one was packed by Mighty Darla. So hi, Mighty Darla. And here's everything I have in the box, and we'll go through them quickly. Then we'll move on to number 5. So the first thing I have in this box are a bag of beans. These are black beans. So this year I want to grow as many black beans as possible because I love making a lot of Mexican dishes, and I think growing my own black beans would be fun. Next, we have pak choi. This is for my cold season lovers. Pak choi is amazing to grow. Then I have some sugar baby watermelon. Then I have, this one is a treat. It's sweet banana peppers. And then of course, we have to have something decorative for my containers in the spring. And that is some coleus. This one is a chocolate covered cherry. Just look at that. Gorgeous, right? The last one on our list are geraniums, and this one is the Pinto Premium White to Rose, and this is number 5 on our list. Now, most people are used to buying these as big blooming plants in the nursery, but I love to personally grow them from seed. And if you start them now, you can get blooms for springtime because these guys take 13 to 16 weeks from the time you start them from seed to the time that you get your first bloom. So you really need to get them started now if you want to grow your own geraniums. And honestly, if you're a beginner gardener and you want to start flowers from seed, outside of zinnias and cosmos, which are easy to grow, geraniums are so easy to grow. The only issue is you have to start them really early. So if you want to grow your own geranium, then I suggest you get them started now. Now, I've been growing geraniums for the past 5 years, and I don't think I'll ever go back to buying a start at the nursery. Now, they are pretty cheap. Now, you can find them at your local hardware store for under $3 in midsummer, but I just find that starting them from seed, I can control the colors, the varieties that I'm growing, and they're just absolutely stunning in the garden. Last year, I believe I grew a pink variety and a Maverick orange as well, and they were absolutely stunning in the garden. I love adding them to containers, and definitely if you want to grow more flowers in your garden, grow some geranium. Now, before we move on to number 6, I have to be honest with you. Keeping track of all these different start dates, when to start them indoors, when to transplant them, when to direct sow them, cold stratifying them, winter sowing them can be quite overwhelming. And that's exactly why I created this 2026 garden planner. I needed a place to track my frost dates and keep all my garden notes in one spot so I don't miss these critical January windows. Now, if you're looking to get organized as well for the 2026 season, you can find the link to purchase my planner below in the description box. This has been a total game changer for my grow room and getting organized for the season, and I hope you enjoy it too. Okay, moving on to number 6, which is another slow grower, and that is lavender. I love lavender so much that this summer I visited a lavender field and had an absolute blast. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll link it down below in the description. Now, with lavender seeds, you have to be careful because sometimes they do need cold stratification. In the past, I've had seed packets that required that, and this packet does not, so we're going to get this started today as well. Moving on to number 7, and this one is another favorite of mine, and that is eucalyptus. If you want those big, long, silvery stems at the end of the season to harvest, then you need to get them started now. Last year, I loved harvesting these stems and then hanging it off my shower for a spa-like scent. Now, you're going to see a lot of gardeners put out lists of what you should grow in January. And to be honest, the next one on the list always seems to be MIA from their list. This one is definitely a must grow, especially if you love growing flowers for your garden. And number 8 are begonias. Begonias take an extremely long time to grow, and you need about 4 months indoors before you start to transplant them outside. So you really need to get started now. Now, last year I grew Bada Bing white begonias and added it as a border to my front yard, and I absolutely loved it. It was stunning. Now, over the years, I've just found it more economical to grow my own flowers for my landscape and for my containers and also for my garden. I just think doing it this way allows you to have control and ownership over what you grow, and also you can add a whole bunch of different varieties and colors to your garden. Now, don't get me wrong, going into the garden center in the spring and summer can be very tempting, and I do buy transplants every year, so this won't exclude me from buying plants at the garden center. I just try to minimize what I buy and grow as much as I can because I think long term that saves more money than you think. So this year I'm growing the Bada Bing white again because I absolutely loved this plant in my landscape. I don't think I'm going to be adding it to my landscape this year though. I think I'm just going to be adding it to containers. And then we're also going to be growing Bada Boom pink. Get it? Bada bing, bada boom. So before we move on to number 9 and 10, and also don't forget we have a bonus pick as well. I'm going to get these started in a seed tray that I've already prepared. And yes, it seems like everything is organized, but trust me, it's an entire mess behind the scenes. This is what things look like this morning when I was getting all these trays ready. Now that we're all organized, let's get started. So there you have it. So we have geraniums in these 2 cells. Then we have lavender. Then we have eucalyptus. And then we have the 2 begonias, Bada Bing white, and then Bada Boom pink. And so we're going to add some vermiculite to this. Okay, we're done. Now we are near the finish line and we have number 9 and 10 to go. Number 9 are violas. Today I'm starting 2 different varieties of viola. The first one is Johnny Jump Ups. This is a classic. And I usually like to keep this in a container separated on its own. It has this beautiful purple, yellow interior. It's absolutely gorgeous, guys. This one is definitely on a must grow list. And the second one that I'm growing this year is Swiss giant pansies. And moving on to number 10, my favorite flower of all time, especially if you're in a cold climate like I am, and that is pansies. I think you can't have a January seed starting list without adding flowers, and I think pansies and violas are the perfect addition to a January grow list. Now, you don't have to grow these in January. You can start them straight in the garden if you want to direct sow them, or you can start them later on in the season, like in March or April. But getting these started now, guys, when it comes to early spring, you'll have your own flowers ready to put in containers and beautify the garden. So last year I had in early spring a display of daffodils and pansies and violas along the side of my house, and it had this beautiful blue color against the bright yellow. It was absolutely gorgeous. I also had containers around the garden that had daffodils and pansies and violas, and I want to repeat that again this year. So I think the perfect way to get started is starting these seeds now and then getting them out in early March. Now, it wouldn't be fun if we ended here, so I have a bonus pick for those who stayed to the end of the video, and that is ginger. Ginger is a tropical plant with a very long growing season, usually about 8 to 10 months. To get a decent harvest, especially if you're in a cold climate, you have to start them now in January. This is your last call. You need to get them started. All you need to do to get started is put the ginger in a bowl with a low level of water. You don't want to cover the ginger completely, just until it's about halfway up the ginger. Then it will start developing roots and a stalk. And at that point, once there are enough roots, I'll transfer it into some soil and put it under my grow lights. But before that, I usually keep it over here where I keep the rest of my plants just to keep an eye on it. And I usually change the water every couple of days. Now, you don't have to do all of this. You can start your ginger directly in soil, and that will alleviate the entire process. I just don't want to do that yet and add it to my grow room. I think just keeping it in water for a little bit works perfectly fine, and then I'll transfer it into soil later on. Now, I do have my own ginger that I harvested last season, and if you haven't seen that ginger harvest video, I'll add it as well to the links below in the description. Ginger is so rewarding to harvest, especially if you live in a cold climate. Now, you're going to end up with baby ginger most of the time because to get mature ginger requires a very long growing period. And usually by the end of the season, I'm just out of time. So it's still a great harvest, but it's not as mature as you would get if you lived in a warm climate. And that's it, guys. 10 seeds plus a bonus that you should be starting now in January, especially if you're in a cold climate. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.